Blog Talk Radio.
Well, hello. My. Busy, long weekend with hurricanes and all kinds of stuff. Sounds like fun to me. I'm glad I'm not in Florida. I'm glad I'm not in the path of that stupid storm. Anyway, woke? Anyone expect that others should do for them? We still got the Weight Club in case anybody's interested. You can. It's on there. It's in there somewhere. I ain't going to say where. And then you got that patriotic song about "We that red, white, and blue." In many cases, the big government is some freaky form of nanny state. I'm sure everybody likes having somebody wipe their butt and powder them up and change their drawers. And I'm just, what about all the rest of us? And, in many cases, it's, some kind of subsidy. Everybody's heard about problems. Well, I'm going to address a few of them, and this is the wake-up call for everybody. Y'all need to pay attention. Y'all need to hearken to the call. It ain't my call, it's you. You get to look in the mirror and figure out what's going on. Indenture. A contract binding one person to work for another for a given period of time. Number 2, to bind. Think about that. There's 2 of them. Then we get into the other fun and games. Indentation. A recess in a surface. Like you got the embossed things, sort of like a cutesy rut. Then you got slave. We're getting to an indentured servant. Slave. 1A, person held in servitude as the chattel, of another. 2, one that is completely subservient to a dominating influence. Now let's cover that word chattel. That's slave or bondman. Bond. An obligation made binding by money, honey. Oh, yeah. And then in the second definition, this bond word's got 2 definitions too. That was 5A. Here's 3B on the second one. To embed in a matrix. Ooh. Oh, my God, ooey, and all that. You thought the matrix was done and over with, I'll bet. Well, guess what? It's alive and well. How on earth can we have one that's been turned off and another one created as a defense mechanism for our planet be all our own? Well, most have seen the movie. So, did anyone notice who built the Matrix? Come on now, think about it. Oh, what was said in the movie? The machines built it to keep the human population under control and oblivious to what was being done to them. That leaves the question, are you just a battery or what? The machines didn't need to have sunlight. They didn't need them photo cells. See if I can find this. Come on now. My goodness. What is it that really bugs you? Me going hody-ho on the radio or reading some news that you may or may not have heard the truth about? I'm going to play a song. Everybody needs to really get this stuck in their head. And that's the wonderful people that say, oh, violence is wrong. But I'm a member of Antifa. Friggin' hypocrites. Listen up. Yeah. What happens if somebody presses the shit out of everybody? Do they get upset? What happens when you put the Antifa and white nationalists together? Ooh, let the fun begin. Now, there's a certain comedian that I like pretty well, crusty old mother by the name of George Carlin. They call it the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it. Yeah, well, guess what? Things are changing a bit. More people have the capability now than they had before Trump got in office. Why is that? Well, it's pretty simple. Going back to some of the more basic things that got us where we was going before some of these ne'er-do-well so-called leaders got in there and screwed it up. Oh, and Carlin put education in the toilet, too. He really did. And this is something you got to, what are you getting for all that money, $70,000 a year or whatever it is? There's that nondescript. They don't want anyone educated too much. Oh, yeah. They only want you educated enough to run the machines. The machines that make them rich and make you poor and wear you out. Now, besides all this, I had to mention that I like George, and he fits right into this. Today, a lot of people have become a lot more aware of what is really going on. And there's a lot of different levels of awareness. There goes Drake again, filling this up with hopium. Then reading a friggin' new, come on, man, come up with something original. Well, how about this? The problem is that very few are looking for details and the disclosures, all that cute stuff that he's got to be guilty. Look at what he did. Well, Comey got to walk so far. There are other charges coming, Mr. Comey. The problem is that very few are looking for details, and the disclosures are very general. I mean, you get specific on TV, and they'll do like they did to CBS back in the day to Walter Cronkite and cut you off. Hell, we'll pull the fuse on you. So, guess what? Very few understand where they are or understand how it all works. The system is rigged. Oh, my God. Once upon a time, life and lives were explained to me in no uncertain terms. This is after I went through the Wayback Machine twice to get there. When God made birth of dirt, well, when he invented that stuff, I was standing there looking at it and thinking, my wife's going to kill me. I'll go dragging that crap across the road. Think of everyone being classified. Yeah, you, classified. Like put in a slot, et cetera. Think of everyone being classified on what they can do. What can you do? How far can you go? Have you had management experience or training? Can you handle pressure? Then consider that cubicle prison your employer provides. Ooh, ain't that, it's just wonderful. I've been in one of those. I used to build them. No, this isn't limited to offices. A lot of people make that mistake right out the door. The customer counter at fast food and the cab of the truck or driver's seat of a taxi. You can make a list that would just use up all the time we got for the show. The masses are stuck in the rut. Remember what I defined made that definition? It's not just a rut. It's an indentation. Indentation, a recess in the surface, better known as a rut. Oh, boy. The masses are stuck in the rut of life. Now, think about that. Think of a trench, everybody walking around in it. I know you've seen this in different places. Think about some of the sci-fi crap that you see humongous number of people waiting to go in the door. And the bell rings. Oh, my God, the door opens and everybody hustles in. Everybody hustles out. The trench is a multiplex of a very complex series of side trenches, pull-offs, and detours. But, and this is the neat part, it is all the same. I've hit on these in other shows, not something real new necessarily, but here's where the fun begins. And you got to do this. I cannot do it for you. You have got to do for yourself. Looking up some of the things that I mentioned, getting to where you find out what is really happening, knowing the source, the impact, how it affects you and everybody else or certain, specific people. It's past time to set off an alarm clock to really wake everyone up. A growing trend of many, mostly youngsters, is a failure to participate. What's that mean? They refuse to get a job. And I've met a few of them locally. They refuse to get a job or buy anything more than, say, cigarettes or a little bit of something to eat, and that's it. Mom and Dad don't have a clue where they're at. What they're doing is an outright refusal to accept present conditions in terms of how capitalism treats most people. Remember, you got like 85%, somewhere along in there, of us regular people. You work for a living or you're disabled or whatever. Anyway, you bump along doing the best you can with what you get. Now, here's the fun. And this is the one big mistake that all of these anti-American turkey butts think is so cute. And that is very simple. Just as with enemies of our existence, most have the wrong targets. And this is true of you. You get the wrong targets. Somebody didn't do it to you. You did it to yourself. Ooh. Capitalists have gotten caught in the same trap of letting crooks and crooked entities take over. Ooh. These should be the targets. Further, anyone whose constitutional rights have been violated needs to make a formal complaint. Yeah, you heard me. Somebody who breaks the law continually eventually gets caught for it. It's not difficult to grasp this stuff. So who is in service to who? Pure heresy, treason. How else can one describe this week's revolutionary revision of the purpose of a corporation by the Business Roundtable, a group of 188 CEOs of America's most powerful company for 40 years. Now, you think how long that is, 40 years. Some people ain't been alive that long. For 40 years, the corporate world has reverently knelt before libertarian economist Milton Friedman and his famed doctrine. And here it is. There is one and only one social responsibility of business, Friedman said, and that is to engage in activities designed to increase profits. Nothing else matters. The the holy bottom line. CEOs worked for stockholders, no one else, and no one else. But in a fractious political climate in which populists from Fox News, Tucker Carlson to presidential candidate Elizabeth Warren are questioning how well capitalism is serving Americans. What'd I just say? Get the friggin' crooks out and you'll have a whole lot less problems. Target those mothers and don't give up until it's done. It's real simple. Nervous CEOs are having second thoughts. Why are they nervous? Well, because of the lack of buying certain products that certain people make that are not cool. Like forced child labor, like certain places that you go to work and they take your passport so you can't leave. Oh, boy. Corporate leaders, they say, should manage their businesses to benefit all stakeholders, not stockholders, stakeholders, employees, customers, and society itself. Ooh. Then you had the fun and games. We should have learned something from all this, but we didn't. Banks' reckless pursuit of profits triggered the landslide of the 2008 financial crisis. Whoa, nasty boy, bad dog. Nasty dog doing that on a floor. Big Pharma made billions by creating an opioid epidemic. And everybody knows what it's done. Ruined millions of lives. Fossil fuel consumption is altering the planet's climate? No, it ain't. You're full of crap. You need to hear the science that is coming out that is not politically oriented. Ooh. The tech industry has seduced us all into surrendering terabytes of information that it sells at enormous profit. They can come back, if you ever noticed, do a search online, and you get all kind of little poppity-up ads. Hey, man, we got the best underwear on the planet. Buy from me. Executives cut themselves an ever-growing slice of the economic pie while middle-class workers get crumbs. And believe me, we got some of the best shop vacs in the world, and very few of them crumbs is going anywhere further than us. That's why the trickle-down ain't working. Exactly why it's not working. Now, what's funny is, this is the editor, this is William Falk, editor-in-chief, and you really had a home run on this. As they say on Wall Street, a correction may be coming. No, it's coming. By one way or the other. Ooh. And then you got this. I'm reading some of the things from the week of this week. Ooh, the main stories. Trump's response to recession fears. Horse hockey. Oh, you got to eventually, and as soon as that came out as horse hockey, you had all these so-called experts that probably can't balance their own checkbooks coming out. Well, we always have an inflation. We always have a recession. What's the matter with you people? Get with the program. You got to have inflation, and you got to have recessions, and you got to, status quo, huh? Legal battle over the Endangered Species Act. And that, to me, is vitally important. I live in the woods. I catch some mother running around trying to shoot something on my property without permission, and I might just accidentally shoot them. Oops. Yeah, that's an offer. Yeah, that's a promise. Yeah, I'm not going to play the game with everybody. Planned Parenthood rejects federal funding over gag rule. Now, you remember they were trying to defund Planned Parenthood, and all of a sudden now we got Planned Parenthood defunding itself. Oh, your tax dollars will no longer pay for the brutality that everybody has come up with in terms of how mean it is to have a wart removed or have an abortion. This is all a matter of religiosity, and according to several, not one, but several texts, life is given by the Creator. The controversy of the week: Trump and Netanyahu. Why they banned Omar and Tlaib? Well, my, it's a crock of crap, but very simple. They banned the enemies, and it's a good thing. I agree with it. They should have got them on a boat and sunk it, see if they could swim. There are a few traditions of decorum that President Trump has not trampled. Really? Well, Trump weighed in via Twitter on this. It would show great weakness if Israel allowed Omar and Tlaib to visit. And that's true. He's right. They hate Israel and all Jewish people. They have said so. So I'll take their word for it. It's not, it doesn't have squat to do with this article. They support the boycott divestment and sanctions. That's the BDS movement, whose goal is rallying the world to destroy the Jewish state economy. Worse, their planned trip was sponsored by Mifta, a radical group. By what principle of democracy should Israel issue visas to anti-Semitic terror apologists who deny its right to exist and seeks its total destruction? They shouldn't, okay? But how is it then that we allow it? These people should be exported. In terms of export, I mean exiled. That's right. Put out like a dog that did something nasty on the floor. Young liberal Democrats in particular are learning to associate BDS with anti-Trump sentiment. Oh, whoopity-doo. Any excuse will do. Netanyahu has made a critical error, said Donna in the Washington Post, as the U.S. electorate gets younger and more diverse every day. Pro-Israel Republicans are disproportionately old, white evangelical Christians. Oh, my goodness. And then it goes on to say, whose influence will shrink when Trump leaves office. Well, he's got 4 more years after this one, so we'll see how that goes. Netanyahu has hit Israel's future to a fading constituency. Really? Netanyahu's desperate? No. But you try to force your way in over there, Talib. Come on, you big and bad. Try and force your way into Israel. See if you don't get stomped on. I know how some things work. There's some things that are a no-no. Then you got a couple of other things I found real interesting. The Sunday Times. This is another one of these hate sheets. Yellow journalism, they used to call it. London, catastrophic Brexit. Ooh. If you don't have an oatmeal breakfast, imported medical supplies will be vulnerable to severe extended delays, while food prices will soar. You get the fear porn, you hear it? Then India is doing something pretty good. Oh, people will love me for this show. To spur India, expelling Muslims. Ooh, millions of Muslims born in India could soon be declared non-citizens under a program supported by the country's Hindu nationalist government. Ooh. State authorities in Assam have set up foreigner tribunals to examine Muslims' backgrounds to determine whether they are in fact migrants from neighboring Bangladesh and are drawing up plans for huge detention camps. Hundreds of people have already been arrested, including registered voters and Muslim veterans of the Indian Army. Dozens have killed themselves over fears of having their citizenship revoked. Still, the government of Prime Minister Modi, a fervent Hindu nationalist, says it will expand the program to other states. I think there's some problems coming that people are not prepared to deal with in any way, shape, or form. America's original sin. This is a briefing now. This is supposed to be a factual presentation of what's really going on. The only trouble is it's anything but. America's original sin. Nope. If somebody don't know what original sin is, or they wouldn't put that in here. Maybe you should go study again. The first enslaved people arrived in Virginia 400 years ago this month. Boy. 20 to 30 Africans in chains landed in Port Comfort in Virginia. This is late August of 1619. A privateer ship, English privateer ship named the White Line. 20 to 30 Africans chained landed at Point Comfort in Virginia. The crew traded the human cargo to colonists from nearby Jamestown in exchange for food. Now, here's some more. Portuguese and Spanish empires began enslaving Africans to work in the Caribbean and Central South America, beginning in the early 1500s, to replace enslaved native people who were dying in droves from brutal overwork and imported diseases. Think about that very carefully. So, no. Excuse me, but it don't fit. And I'm going to say, take your reparations, horse hockey, and stick it where the sun don't shine. Now, the Washington Post is, climate change has arrived. Ooh, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. Well, I'm sorry, I hate to disappoint you, but the NASA scientists say, horse hockey, man didn't do this. So what do you do with that? Punt? I mean, there's, here's your United Kingdom, UK, prepare for our agricultural Armageddon. And The Guardian is the source. Now, these people have put out false crap before, so I, labeled this fear porn. Without a trade deal, the high proportion of UK farm produce exported to the EU would immediately be blocked by regulatory barriers and rendered too expensive by the bloc's tariffs on imports from non-members. Now think about that. I'm going to give you some numbers. 27% on chicken, 46% on lamb, 65% on beef. They'll do that. They do that to themselves. And anybody else that doesn't go along with their idea of what the program should be. Brexit voters were sold on a nostalgic image of Britain self-sufficient and free, not thrown to the wolves of yet harsher globalization. It's a tragedy. That so many farmers voted for the destruction of their own livelihoods. Now, our farmers are having some problems, but we are putting our money where our mouth is, and real simple, we're taking care of the problem. Now, believe it or not, U.S. and U.K. got a deal. Yeah, it's extensive. Now, Germany, what is Russia doing with its nukes? Oh, my goodness. They're sneaking them around in the dark. When the sun goes down, you can hear them clanking in the woods. The era of nuclear disarmament is over, and a new arms race is upon us. Watch out, NATO. They're sneaking up on people. Ooh. Now, best columns. International. Here's Israel again, banning U.S. lawmakers from visiting. I scratched out lawmakers and put enemies. That's what they are. They're enemies of Israel. Trump's rage against lawmakers has more to do with a long line of instances proving his animus toward dark-skinned foreigners, play that race card, than with their anti-Semitism. Bullshit. No, Israel. Hayom. I think that's the way you pronounce it. Instead of the APAC-sponsored trip, their proposed itinerary revealed that they wanted to visit not Israel, a country whose right to exist they do not recognize, but Palestine, a nation that doesn't exist. Well, Israel can refuse entry to any BDS supporter under a 2017 law because their attempts to delegitimize the world's only Jewish nation are not deserving of tolerance. Hey, I wonder if that gets under their skin. You met with the same tolerance you give other people, and you get ballistic. Oh my goodness! And a bunch of Dems jump up and down, and everybody's screeching. The deterioration of democracy in Israel. That's what it. This is the great thing. The BDS movement is getting priceless exposure, and the word apartheid is back in the political discourse. Netanyahu has openly aligned Israel with the U.S. Republican Party. So, times of Israel, whoopity-doo. Forced. Obama's Iran nuclear. Now, has forced the Democratic Party to rally behind two fringe congresswomen it would rather ignore. They wish they'd go away just as bad as everybody else does. American Jews who vote overwhelmingly Democratic are upset. Well, baby cakes, you better wise up. You want the destruction of Israel? If not, I wouldn't vote for the Democrats. And even the pro-Israel conservative lobby group AIPAC disapproves of the ban. Well, basically, who really gives a squat? You know, there's a whole lot of dinglebats out there that think they're in charge of everything, and they just, you know, the evil fascism next door. Pakistan. This is from The Nation. The crushing of democracy in Indian-occupied Muslim-majority Kashmir. Just one more sign of the rising fascism in India, said Adila Nareen Mukhar. Indian Prime Minister Modi is not just the head of the Hindu Nationalist Junta Party, but also a prominent member of, I don't do real well with some of these words that don't make sense to me, especially names. Swayamasovic, RSS. The fanatical group that seeks to make India into a Hindu nation. Really? What's wrong with it? It's wrong to be a Hindu? I don't think so. I think it's wrong to object if you're part of the country. If you don't like your country, leave. Nazis began by ostracizing Jews and stripping them of their businesses, much as RSS activists have been shutting down India's Muslim-run beef industry. Tit for tat? No, this is even more than that. They took the initiative. Anti-Semitic rioting was common in pre-World War II Germany. Anti-Semitic writing, okay? And women were told to avoid Jews in India. Lynchings of Muslims are on the rise. Oh, my goodness. And a movement has risen to protect Hindu girls from Muslim suitors. Systematic assassination of dissenting and liberal voices is also occurring right on track. At least 3 high-profile critics of Modi and Hindu superstition, oh boy, what a have been murdered in recent years. Oh my goodness. Look, Modi took no action to stop the massacre of hundreds of Muslims during the state's bloody riots in 2002. Will his hate train morph into a culture of mass killings and pogroms? Russia. Why these protests won't go away? They believe in what they're doing. President Putin may have cause to be alarmed. Brutal crackdown on the unauthorized protests, which were sparked by the exclusion of opposition candidates from next month's city council elections, has only spurred more demonstrations. How about all the murders? Somebody asked Putin one time, how is it that all your opposition ends up dead? Hello, question. Really, here we go. Trump. Dismal polls, rising panic. Really? This is according to the Dems, Washington Post, New York Magazine, New York Times, thebulwark.com, theatlantic.com. Oh, yeah. All of the real righteous conservative places to get your information. Now, Wit and Wisdom has a little column, got little wise sayings and whatnot. This one fits pretty good today. If you want children to keep their feet on the ground, put some responsibility on their shoulders. I like it. Oh, and then you got Omar and Talib marching with signs and all these other happy things. And Talib says, we don't get Israel's attitude. Of course not. You don't have anything to defend. Ooh, ain't that nice? Hong Kong protests as public enemies. And what they're doing is they're taking facial recognition of the individuals involved. You want a health scare of the week? You might as well smoke. Why? Health scare of the week. Air pollution is as bad as smoking. It is. Depends on where you're at, how heavy the stuff is, to what extent it goes, and whether you're out there going in the middle of clouds of nasty things. Oh, boy. I'm not seeing much else in this magazine. Everybody wants me to move. This magazine wants me to move to New York. Good luck with that. Now, everybody's heard the Towers advertisements about paid-for homes to give to veterans. Well, here's another one. Homes for our troops. As founded in 2004, and they provide not only for the individual. In other words, they take the consideration of the individual's wants, needs into consideration when they build a place. And homes are paid for. So, it don't get much better than that, actually. China is winning the trade war. Fortune magazine, you're full of shit. They're losing badly. Why? Oh, well, it's pretty simple, really. They're losing badly because they put all their eggs in the wrong basket. It's a single basket, but it's the wrong basket. So, after all that wonderful news, I wonder how many people are ready for some fun and games here. A lot of us have had to put up with this. And it's an old song, and I decided I was going to try to find another one. And here's what's going on. They're attacking your religion. And I think it's interesting. They've changed their song in terms of those who are adverse to the existence of the United States. Live there anyway, enjoy all the benefits. I think everybody ought to listen to this for the simple fact that it presents the reality of it. It's a love song, but it also is very applicable to what the Democrats think they're doing and getting away with. Yeah. Put your heart into this country, see what can happen. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. You've heard that. Kennedy said it in a speech a long time ago. However, it's still as valid as that oath of service I took that don't have a expiration date. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but Dems have refused to come up with any kind of legislation that will pass the constitutional sniff test. If it smells like some kind of a dirty rectum or asshole, don't go nowhere. Dems refuse. So Trump ends family separation. Think about this very carefully. Flores settlement agreement is being nullified. While most of the press joined with Democrats in pinning the blame on Trump, the blame, in fact, rests on federal policy that long predated Trump, namely the Flores settlement agreement. Flores agreement, which essentially mandated family separation, will soon be history thanks to the Trump administration actions announced. That's Wednesday, and this is from August 27th, so this is like a week old. This goes until September 3rd, according to the magazine. The Flores agreement, created by the federal courts in 97, prohibits Customs and Border Protection from holding children in detention more than 20 days. The scrapping of Flores creates a third option. Keep families together until they get their day in court. That seems to be fair. Or you can wait in Mexico. MSNBC jumped right in it. Jacob Soboroff, right up to his eyeballs. Put it on Twitter. Detaining families indefinitely is always what Trump wanted to do. Of course he does. He's an evil, nasty thingamabob. A more sober analysis would reveal that the administration's action is by far the best of three options. First, underfloors would require separating families. And that's why they wait on, asylum proceedings. Second is what the Department of Homeland Security announced today, keeping families together while under supervision. Third is open borders, and there's two of those that just ain't going to fly at all. The general thrust of administration action deserves to be lauded by border hawks and immigration advocates alike. Now, here you go. His address is Congress. Hello, Democrats. You're in the majority. Let's do something. Congress needs to act to better fund our border facilities to increase the capacity of our immigration courts and to get rid of the incentives for families with weak asylum claims to appear at our border. The Trump administration is writing it an egregious wrong, regardless of political preference and irrespective of all political theater. And that's a good thing. Finally did. You got it, President. If you tax it, he will come. And I got a Bernie Sanders in a baseball outfit. Out of left field, clueless Schmo Sanders. The Duke and Duchess of Climate are disappointed in you. Cummings should retire? No. Cummings, according to his public testimony, should be jailed for varying forms of treason. Ooh-wee. Now, up here in the woods, they got a thing called pioneer spirit. That's when you took on the elements, wildlife, and other nasty things, some of them two-legged, some with or without fur, most of them had fur of some sort. The ideology here is to express things in the proper perspective. Remember? Capitalists have gotten caught in the same trap of letting crooks and crooked entities take over. These should be the targets. Make a complaint if you got a problem, an official one. Use the RICO statutes for an example. You want to start something? You want to rattle a bunch of things? You want to hear the trash cans get knocked over? Washington, D.C. would go spastic if some of these people would stand up. You got to stand up. It's just like, go along with the gangs and get wiped out. Why? Well, you make a good target. You get it? Huh? Hello, Chicago. How you doing? It's the Wild West live and well up there just like it has been? Okay, here it goes. Hugo Gordon. Now, he's the editor-in-chief of the Washington Examiner. The wild, optimistic frontier. And that's part of this pioneer spirit I'm talking about. Get excited. Why? Well, young people don't think they got a future. Guess what? We got the whole of our specific galaxy as the new frontier. Space, the new frontier. You've heard that. Come on, get your head wrapped around this. It's coming. As a young boy in England, I was aware of widespread anti-American prejudice. Imagine that. By the end of the Second World War, Britain had so clearly been supplanted by the United States as the leading global power that it was no longer plausible to pretend otherwise. When people are disillusioned, they tend to be bitter, and British bitterness was still raw in the 60s. I recall much talk about American brashness, loud voices, louder clothes. You're just insensitive. You're not following the status quo. What's wrong with you people? But I didn't share this distaste, perhaps because I was too young either to know that what Britain had once been and had lost, or take any interest in news and current affairs. So I was largely unaware of modern Americans. You remember the book? You remember the movie? You remember all these things? The Ugly American? My idea of this country is shaped instead by Saturday morning children's cinema, which, costing just 6 pence a week per child, could afford to show only rather old movies. They were usually westerns, often starring John Wayne, Gary Cooper, and others of that epoch. So I thought America was peopled by handsome, tough, self-reliant, iconic men of action, and by pretty, resourceful, doughty women equal to the rigors of the frontier. This was highly appealing. What a country, I thought. Lest you scoff at what my understanding of America was always a fiction, I should say that I'm well aware that Hollywood produced fiction, as it still does. But the stories a country tells about itself reveal something true. The myths of America, like the myths of the ancient world, show what it once valued and admired, silver screen heroes, with most of the rough edges polished away, embodied optimism, resolution, and success. They were a product of a happy country. Is it a happy country now? Not with the political fun and games going on. Some years later, in about 70, after I'd grown out of those Western movies, my father commented how much more he had come to like Americans. They no longer seemed to have that swagger which was so unappealing to his stiff upper lip. He noted a new modesty, which doubtless was a good thing in some ways, but it also betokened something dark and corrosive, a new self-doubt that germinated and spread amid the anxieties and social fissures opened up by the Vietnam War. Ooh. I thought of all this again recently when skipping from channel to channel on my car radio. What I heard was to ensure quality care for indigenous women. Skip. The regulations have been gutted, and how can the American people trust this agency in this administration to safeguard? Skip. Poor credit and racism. And so I switched it. I turned it off. People don't need to have their minds polluted by horse hockey, and that's what I'm trying to break loose here. These are the lachrymose effusions of a national culture steeped in hyper-egalitarian grievances over race, class, gender neutered, and nourished in classrooms and campuses, then carried out into the media and other workplaces to weaken and depress the national spirit. It's called the destruction of America. By God, they were dreary. In his clumsy, a lot of people might take issue with this part, but I agree with it. Trump is brash, among other things. In his clumsy, brutish, ignorant, and often self-defeating way, President Trump wants to revive the optimistic, success-seeking spirit that once defined this country. It is because so many Americans yearn for such a revival that, for all his faults, he might win re-election. Baby Cakes, I think he's going to not only win re-election, it's going to be nasty. Here we go. Cows eaten, not worn. Go to the butcher shop and eat it, but, you can't wear that average every day. The ugly American, according to stereotype, is loud, wasteful, and chowing down on red meat. Ooh, brutish. Americans are moving away from the old superstition that meat is bad for you. Guess what? It's not. If it ain't shot up with all kind of drugs to fatten it up and all that, high-end leather is still in high demand. Everyday leather is increasingly unpopular. So you got a whole load of problems there. I would suggest that these people start making everyday things at an inexpensive price. Oh, boy. What would you do if you were sparring with your neighbors over their insistence that you not rent your house out as an Airbnb? You could talk to them, you could ignore them, or you could paint your house hot pink, punctuated by two massive emojis. One with his tongue out and the other with his face zipped. One homeowner in Manhattan Beach, California, opted for the latter. After neighbors reported her to the city for temporarily renting out her home, Catherine Kidd had her house painted magenta. And it is a hot pink. Before an artist spray painted on two emojis. one with its tongue stuck out, the other with its mouth stuck out. To emphasize this peon to the camp aesthetic, both emojis have eyelash extensions, just like the person who confronted her. We really feel it's our city's responsibility to have these regulations in place because people can do anything. Oh, Susan, the alleged false eyelash wearer and neighbor who reported kids, said, "Oh, I feel we're not being protected against bullying." What the hell do you think you're doing? Okay, you want to get into bullying? In this country, known as America, we're supposed to have freedom of religion. And here's a little article. It's not a long one. God in real estate. According to the Virginia Real Estate Board, Carter's religious beliefs have no place in her professional life. Faith and freedom. For faith and freedom, Jesus loves you, and with God, all things are possible. Such comments were associated with Christianity, and thus indicate a preference or limitation based on religion in violation of Virginia's fair housing law. Ooh, that's the news, Virginian. Well, Carter's filing a lawsuit in Richmond Circuit Court, arguing the board's restrictions posed an impossible choice. Keep quiet about your beliefs or quit your job. Carter quit her job. No one should have to justify their free speech or their religion to a regulatory body. And her attorney said to threaten someone's job because they express their faith makes free speech unfree. So, you got a lot of things. The tension between religious expression and legal jurisdiction is perhaps the most prevalent. Carter's choice is one that religious Americans across the country have had to face, whether it's in the Colorado cake shop, Washington flower store, or Virginia real estate office. Living out their faith, you can do so, the board says, but only in these designated ways. Oh, so you don't have freedom of religion, accusation of discrimination. And even better, the Bible verse the board nitpicked as evidence of illegal preference declares God shows no partiality. This might be true, but only outside the workplace. What a crock of crap. A pill for loneliness. There ain't any. Antidepressants get overprescribed for cases of normal human despair. Well, maybe they might want to realize that they might need some good company. This is interesting because this deals with the up-and-coming generation, the people that don't feel that they have any future. Don't spend your evening watching what your other friends are doing on Instagram. Millennials, it appears, are particularly susceptible to this temptation. You need to get out there and honest to God, live it. Though what has been dubbed the fear of missing out, young people may spend more time agonizing over their friends' lives on social media than actually participating in their own. Almost a third. Now, this is a recent poll. Almost a third of millennials say they have no close friends. 1 in 5 says they have no friends, period. Oh, boy. And somebody decided to tell Taylor Swift she was full of horse hockey. Well, let's go a step further now. This is ideology that I'm presenting, and you need to pay attention to it. I'll kind of truss it up in a nice little package. Matter-of-fact slurring. I don't think the N-word should never be used, but close to never. It don't apply to most everything. This is why it is bonkers when a professor at the new school was recently threatened with censure for uttering it in quoting James Baldwin after a white student complained. Thankfully, she was cleared of wrongdoing. I mean, and then you got it keeps going. It just slurs. Shameful. Being nasty and racist is. Slurs should retain their special power and designation. The certain word, the N-word or whatever. David Nura, a prominent activist journalist, recently implied the word clown was a new racial slur. Republicans have been increasingly trying to dub Democrats clowns. Ooh. Good sense never stopped outrage mongers. Somebody's trying to call me. Dummies don't realize I'm doing a show. I ain't answering. Good sense never stopped outrage mongers. That's the morality police. Recently, in particular, Chris Cuomo, the CNN anchor and younger, somehow less competent brother in a powerful New York family, ranted bitterly about being called Frito, saying it's like the N-word to Italians, really. There's others that denigrate somebody a lot better than that. It gives linguistic weaklings, that's people that can't express themselves, the ability to betray the remainder of the English language users by manufacturing new false slurs and then pretending everyone else is crazy or nasty for not respecting a fraudulent taboo. Oh my goodness, and here we go. This lady deserves a place in a circus somewhere. People are going to love this. She needs a new tinfoil hat. Stacey Abrams. Tinfoil Hat Brigade. Next to that, big mouth, loud and proud, beating a dead horse. It's about the legitimacy of elections. Oh, really? Well, she's trying to say that voter suppression caused her to lose the election. So she didn't lose. She won. Really? You have a great imagination. But that hasn't stopped Abrams from continuing to deny reality. They closed 200 polling places. Kemp did? Well, Kemp, his role as Secretary of State, has zero authority to make those decisions. Counties make those decisions. Then you got minority turnout. Also throws cold water on suppression conspiracy theories. Voter turnout among Georgia minorities reached an all-time high 40% in 2018, including 30% represented by black voters. Ooh. And yet Abrams still continuing to deny reality. The reality is that she won. Trump didn't have any evidence. Neither did Abrams. And she said so herself in an April interview with the New York Times. I have no empirical evidence that I would have achieved a higher number of votes. She chose to embrace the worst elements of partisanship in a cynical effort to convince people she was the victim of an unfair system. Now, I don't give Hillary Clinton a lot of credit, but Clinton said, forget it. There are some things you don't do, and that's one of them. Legacy in shreds. How Obama went from transformational light worker to incompetent placeholder. He never had a legacy. The only legacy he had was non-performance. I mean, it gets worse and worse as things go on, but things are just about to change. Ooh, the blue state blueprint. Status quo. Promise anything you get elected, then do whatever you want. Hello? Republican control. Now, I'm going to blow all these out of the water. Movement of funds. Hundreds of left-wing entities. That's Arabella Advisors. Sister District Project. Anything. Party control of state legislators will also have national implications after the next election cycle. Ooh. The next election is 2020. Now people are obsessed with Trump and who's going to be against him. But honestly, more important is, in the long run, is the state legislatures. Not really. Cannot handle pressure. Well, I got some pressure for you. Stopping China's cyber mischief. New bill seeks to protect companies from abusing backdoors. What's happened is that they have built into their and highway is one of them, is built into all. I'm not going to leave nothing out because that's not the way it is. All of the electronics these people produce. Cybersecurity regulations with the Kimmers Perry Law firm near Kansas City. It's Congress alerting foreign nations, especially China, that it is taking the security threats from electronic manufacturers within the supply chain and monitoring malicious chips, counterfeit parts, could create backdoors, enabling monitoring or stealing of sensitive data or cause broad system malfunctions. And then we got Democrats playing filibuster, removal, nuking the 60-vote threshold. Well, there ain't enough of you. Sorry. Ain't going to happen. Then you got Bedard. Now, Bedard hits everyone. See, this is a home run. This is a home run. Here's a loss of controls. Feds fear EMP meltdown of nuke plants. I'll say that one again because a lot of people miss this. When you get an EMP strike, the electronics all turn off, overload, burnout, etc. A lack of testing and preparation at the nation's nuclear power plants, resulting meltdown could cause radiation deaths. And they're not prepared. They can't even. The NRC, Nuclear Regulatory Commission, apparently won't protect the energy plants referred to in the report as the nation's crown jewels from an attack. The reason? That's the Pentagon's job. Okay. NRC staff responses have raised concerns among members of the task force national security community who feel the agency isn't doing enough to protect against EMP attacks or even test for it. Come on, guys. Let's get real here. What is the next big thump? Well, it's called a slow motion crisis. Student loan debt exacts a mounting toll on the U.S. economy. One of the things that blew my mind is that wealthy people pay less, burying tens of millions of Americans in mountains of student debt and loan debt. Okay, well, maybe everybody ought to pay the same amount. The debt is dragging down the economy. University of California, some 25% are delinquent in their loans. Ooh. Studies link student debt to lower levels of home ownership, car purchases, higher household financial distress, delayed marriage, and lower probability of going to graduate school. Now, how are you going to, on a $10 to $13 an hour job, pay $600 a month student loan debt and $900 a month just to live? Degrees can't be repossessed, right? So what? There is an answer to it, and I'm going to hit on the one part of it that don't make sense. The government allows deferral of loan payments while in school, allows them to be lowered to an affordable level based on income afterward. All right? That's all well and good, but a practice known as forbearance. The unpaid interest during those periods is tacked onto the principal. That means that you start out with $60,000 in debt, like this one person did, and end up with $100,000 in a couple of years or thereabouts. Avoid federal loans when possible. It's almost like a hamster wheel. Parents need to realize that 70% of students change majors. When they do that, that screws up the schedule. Thousands of dollars in debt at for-profit schools that shut down? No. If you guys can't handle it, whomever it is that shut down, you need to make sure that there are transcripts sent to the students. I hope you listen to this, because they can come after you personally, if not professionally, so that they can get transcripts of the grades, credits earned, etc. Instead of an internship program, This one person got stuck in an insurance sales position. What happened to the, loans discharged because schools closed? That's an option under federal law, but the problem is transferring credits. About 2 million borrowers from 25 to 34-year-old are locked out of the housing market because they got a debt balance of 20 grand or more. And that's accounting for the majority. Student loans account for the largest share of debt by young adults, about 39%, an amount that outpaces mortgages, auto loans, and even credit cards. So we're going to have to do something about that. I would suggest we jump up and down on somebody's head at the university. Hey, quit it. The percentage who believe most people are going to afford to pay tuition bills has dropped from 39% in 85, 22% in 2011. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. There are things out there that will eat you alive if you allow it. So, how do I tie this all together? Very simple. Really simple. Not difficult at all. You probably heard this lecture once or twice. I think some people have. They already signed off. They're watching a football game, or they're leaving Florida, or whatever's going on. Are you obligated? No. Got like mortgages, rent, etc. Need food, need clothes for the kids, and all this other happy stuff. Well, part of it is that you're playing into the rut. You're playing into the system. What's the system? The system is designed, as I stipulated, for somewhere between 70 and 85% of the people to stay in their rut, or their cubicle, or the cab of their truck, or whatever it may be. It's not difficult to find out where you actually stand. All you got to do is look in the mirror. Think about it. Think about how to get out of it. Things are getting ready to change, so be aware. And with all of that, go out there and get her done.